I'm drinking from my Texas mug today, and I want to talk about endurance or perseverance when things seem overwhelming. So, back in 2005, I had an event, it was a series of events, but it was a time when I was learning a lot about life. I was 25 years old. I was learning a lot about life, and I still had a lot to learn. And so, what is amazing to me is that now, you know, 15 years later, 18 years later, I look at my life and there are some things that still feel very much the same. And then there's other things that I feel like I have grown and things have changed and dramatic life differences. So here I am. I'm drinking coffee from my Texas mug because the story from 2005 happened in Texas. And I have the Caribou blend from Caribou Coffee. I fresh ground it in my Mason Jar Lifestyle burr grinder. And it's a little bit past 3 o'clock here in Denver area. However, it's a Saturday. I was taking a little bit of a breather and catching up on just looking at all the different things that needed to happen. And in recent months, several things have happened. I've taken this summer. I was working specifically house painting again, and some other things because as Stacy and I were looking at our goals for the year and just financial goals, we needed to do something to increase our income some for this year, with several goals in mind. One is just to make sure that we're actually financially viable, but the secondary goal that we really are praying about would be we would love to be able to buy a house sometime, which means we need to make sure our income is up enough so we can save money toward buying a house. So that's what we're doing. And one of the things that happens in my life is we have I have this life, like the life mission statement. I've talked about this before in some of the very early coffee talks, and then also in some of the coffee talks at the beginning of every new year. I seem to talk about this and this concept a little bit. And so what? Oh, hi Amy, thanks for joining us today. That's awesome. What I still don't know how to do, though, is when you say something on YouTube while I'm live, I don't know how to make the comments stay with the video. They seem to evaporate. So that's the disappointing part about commenting while I'm live on YouTube, is somehow they disappear. So anyway, here is my list of assignments, goals, and desires for 2023. I have a lot of things, film projects, and just priorities of hosting and of church and pastoral ministry all on here. But some of these are very intensive. So, for instance, right now in my life, I am a chaplain at our Troop 3 of Trail Life here, our local troop, and I'm learning what it means to be a chaplain for Trail Life. And that's been an awesome journey this last year, about a year now that I've been the chaplain. I've really enjoyed it. I've been challenged by it. And even just this summer, I started understanding one more level of challenges, what else might be required or opportunity that I could work into or speak into. And I don't always know what I'm doing. So it's kind of a fun adventure. At the same time, it's challenging. And because there's other people involved, I have to always, make sure the relationships are great. And so I love that. As a pastor at Living Water Fellowship, I'm teaching most Sundays, and we just have the general upkeep of the we have the fellowship meal and the times that we gather, the every Sunday gathering that just happens. But any special gatherings have to be thought about, talked about, and there's a constant sort of upkeep to reach out to see who can gather for prayer, what special events we can do. And recently I did a thing where we were trying to find a day that a weekend that our whole church could be at the lake together. Some years we've camped there. And so we were trying to find one of those. And in the process, I had looked at all the group sites at our local Chatfield State Park, at the reservoir, and they were all taken except for one, which was my family's reunion. And so I was like, well, I can't do that. And so then as the weeks would go by, every so often I would check again just to see if any weekend had opened up, if any group campsites had opened up at Chatfield that we could use. Well, a couple weeks ago, I suddenly discovered, hey, there's a weekend that's available and free. And so I just booked it. And so then I got to church. I was excited. We booked it. We're going to be able to do this thing. And so at church, as it's about time to make the announcement, I stand up and I'm looking. I pull out my phone so that I can see what weekend it was so I can tell the right dates. And that's when I realized that we can't do it. I won't be here. It's not going to work that way. I had double booked us. And so that was a symptom of just the general busyness of everything that's happening. Hey, Peter, what's going on?
Well, we were just playing outside in the sandbox.
All right, you're outside in the sandbox, and it's a beautiful day outside.
Yeah.
For August, it's actually fairly cool here in Colorado. We've had some very warm days, but
We've also had a lot of mosquitoes.
we had a lot more rain this year than usual. So like today, right now, it's 82 degrees and really quite pleasant outside. So it's been nice. I'm glad you're able to play outside.
There's just mosquitoes. Tons of them.
Yes, well, that's not their fault.
I know.
So, and some of them actually live in places that have more mosquitoes than we do.
True.
Hey, Joe, thanks for joining it today.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna
All right.
go on and
Okay, well,
play some more.
thanks for checking in. So, what happens, I have a calendar, a paper calendar that I use to put dates and stuff in. And then I have of course, we have an app on our phones that Stacy and I try to use. And then she has the calendar upstairs. And so we have like 3 different ways that we can put stuff on a calendar that potentially can get lost. And so just how do you keep track of all the things, and then adding on top of it the fact that if I get a house painting job, well, then I have a window in which I'm trying to finish it. And so I will, sometimes work very long days and not do anything else except just focus on painting that house. And then once that's done, then I get back to focus on things here. And so, for instance, this year I had to, or this summer I had to find new hosting for a bunch of our websites. I have about a dozen websites that I take care of. And so between the church and the film and personal things. And so it was there's just a lot of things that can pile up. And so there's times when it just gets overwhelming, not in the size of what I'm doing, but in the quantity of things that I'm trying to do. A couple of years ago when we were getting ready to make We Three Kings, I had felt very overwhelmed with the size of the project that I was trying to accomplish. And at that time, I had one of those very vivid dreams that felt like it was a gift from God, where I had in my mind, I was, or in my dream, I was in the water, and I was just, I had been far enough from shore, and other people were behind me on the beach. I was far enough out to where I was actually just kind of body surfing and playing in the water, when I looked up and I saw a wave that was so big, it was just like, huge wave coming at me. And I remember looking at it in my dream, and like I could hear the seagulls, I could smell the salt water, it was such a real dream. It was so vivid and felt so real. And in my dream, I'm looking at this huge wave coming in. I'm thinking it's going to crash over right where I am, and I don't know if I have the endurance to swim underneath this thing or what I'm supposed to do. And so in my dream, I just started swimming, and I was looking at the wave, and I'm just swimming up this huge hill of water. And it is, at one point, I'm way at the top of it, and I realize I made it. The wave is going on behind me, and I made it. It didn't crash on me. I didn't die. And I didn't have to swim underneath it. And I remember waking up thinking, I just need to keep swimming. Like, don't stress about the size of the things that are ahead. Just keep going. That was the encouraging fruit that came out of this dream, right? And so currently this summer, I've had several times where I've just felt a little bit overwhelmed with all the things that are on my plate, and all the things, the items I'm supposed to be taking care of. And I'm usually doing pretty good being able to move from one to the next to the next. But when I drop something and I realize, oh man, I dropped that, that's hard. And so the big things that right now, I'm the chaplain at Trail Life Troop 3. I am a pastor of Living Water Fellowship. And then I'm helping with a tech class for our theater with our homeschool co-op. And that's going to take, all of the school year starting at the end of this month. And so I have those things going. And then I am a filmmaker and an editor. And I've actually been trying to write some of my own books and trying to help my mom get some of her books ready. So I have all these layers of things that I'm responsible for, that I'm working on. And like even now, you can see the desk sitting, the table sitting back here. I put that there because I was clearing for another project. So I was having to make sure that I wasn't dropping any paperwork here in the office. So there's a lot of pieces. And so I was reminded, sometimes you're facing something that is so big that it's just impossible. And so you're just completely dependent on the Lord, going, Lord, I cannot do this on my own strength. I've got to have your help. And you're praying and you're walking and you're working with other people. And it's amazing because I think this quote from Hudson Taylor describes this process very well. In it, he says, the quote that I have is every great work of God has 3 stages. This first, it is difficult. And I was like, yeah, there's a lot of things that I'm doing that I believe God wants me to be doing, that are good things, that are things that Stacy and I have taken the time to put in our goals overview. They fit our life purpose statement. They're good things, but they seem very difficult. That's first stage. Second stage, in the quote, he says, first they are difficult, then it is impossible, and then it's done. And I've experienced this. You'll be walking along trying to do this very difficult thing, and then it just seems to just get harder. And as you're just in the middle of it, you're just like, how are we ever? And then suddenly things happen and it's done. You finish it. Wow. And it's you're just, it's amazing what God has done. And so that I have those stories and those accounts of things that we were doing. Like every time we've made a movie, it's been like that. We always hit that impossible stage. We hit the difficult stage, we hit the impossible stage, and then at some point it's finished and it's out there. And I look back, like even now when I look back at Breaking the Silence, and I realize that there are people able to watch that movie right now, or even tonight when I'm going to bed and sleeping, there will be people still watching and listening to me talking and all the interviews we did in that movie. It's amazing. It's done. But for 5 years, it was difficult, and at times it was impossible, and then it was done. And so, you can tell yourself stories of how to persevere and how to keep walking. You can even just sing the silly little songs like in Finding Nemo, just keep swimming, just keep swimming. You can do all kinds of stuff to try to keep yourselves going. But the reality is that sometimes it's very overwhelming. And so this summer, the first half was very well regulated for me. It's the second half where things kind of all have come together. So starting last month, coming into this month, things have gotten pretty tight at times where I'm just like, I don't know. And then when you get really tired, sometimes it's not, I don't know. It's like, I fully understand what this is going to require, and I don't want to. I just don't feel like it. But you have to keep going. So what do you do? And I was reminded of this time back in 2005. And I think I can show it here. There we go. 2005. And these guys right here, it's Micah Whitman, David Wise, Kenny Holcomb, and this is yours truly, myself. We went on a trip out to Big Bend National Park. And let me actually see if I can't do a thing where here we go. I have a plan. Yeah, this should work. I will go like this. There we go. So what we have here is a group of guys, and these 3 are about 7 years younger than me. And that's important to the story because we head out and we plan to go to Big Bend National Park. Well, out at Big Bend National Park, we are going to do some camping and we're going to do some hiking. And so what I end up doing there is, let's see if I can, so here we go. We're on the trail. We're all loaded with everything. Because I'm 7 years older, I feel like I am the leader. And so we're hiking up. We're going to go to the Southwest Rim and spend some time there that afternoon. Then we're going to hike back a little ways and camp, and then come back out the next day. So that's our plan. It's not too big of a hike, but there's no water up there and other things. So each of us is carrying at least a gallon or more of an extra water as well. And so we've got all this, our drinking water and some extra cooking water, and we've got all of this stuff adds up. And so what was happening for me on this trail right here, if you look at me, the thing that I look back now, I'm like, you see these guys in t-shirts and stuff, and then you see me in this long sleeve shirt. Well, I didn't always understand the best way to take care of myself. And so I am doing that. I'm carrying a camera here. If you look at my backpack, it is truly piled full of things. And I had read way back in my teenage years, I had read several of the Boy Scout manuals from 100 years ago. And so the idea of being prepared, I really liked that idea of being prepared for whatever comes my way. And so my backpack literally is prepared. And so it would be things like, I don't know if everyone else is going to bring enough water, so I'm going to carry some extra water. I don't know if everyone else is bringing enough snacks for them, so I'm going to bring some extra snacks. I don't know if I don't want to ask someone else to carry a kettle, so I'm going to bring the kettle for us. I'm going to bring the cook stove, and then I'm going to make and it was just a little cook stove, that was good, but maybe I need to bring some extra fuel. And so while we had talked about it and divvied out the food and everyone was carrying different pieces, there were some pieces that I'd be like, I don't know, I hate to ask someone else, and besides, I'm the oldest, I'll just take it. Now, this is stupid, because at this time, these guys were all about 18 years old, and I'm in my mid-20s, and honestly, they were in great shape, and they could hike, and so they can carry their stuff. There's no need for me to think that I have to carry everything, but I am. And so on this trail, as we're hiking up to the Southwest Rim that first day, I just remember we hit a spot where I don't remember what order we were walking in. I don't even remember whether they went ahead of me or not. We were kind of all staying together because we would rest every so often. But internally and mentally, I was running out. I don't even remember how long the hike is. That we were coming from the visitor center down there by the window, and we're coming up to the Southwest Rim in Big Bend National Park. I just was becoming overwhelmed, and so it got down to, I had my walking stick, I had my backpack, and I would just be like, and I had the camera. I just had too many things, and so I'd just be walking one step in front of the other, just keep going, just keep walking. And I'm just like dying, but I don't want to tell them I'm dying because I'm the leader or whatever. I had those ideas for real. I love these guys, by the way. We had some sweet prayer times together, plus my cousin Rudy and my brother Jonathan and cousin David and others that would join us. On this particular trip, there were only 4 of us. Later, there were more that went with us on other trips. But here we are, standing somewhere. I set the camera up and took a picture. Here we are, sitting up, actually on top of somewhere by the Southwest Rim. We finally made it. This is actually a couple days later down in the gravel pits, but this picture is symbolic of what I was hoping a lot of my time would be like. If you look in here, I have a notebook here. That's my journal that I'm journaling in at the time. I was really hoping that on this camping trip, I'd be able to spend a lot of time just hanging out in my hammock, and that I could just, relax and think and pray and hear from God. Here's when we were arriving at Big Bend National Park. We're just, that's the 4 of us. It was a great time. Here is a view from up at from the Southwest Rim, looking around. And here we are sitting on a tree up there. Another view from up there. And then there's at night. But I want to come back to this moment right here. So what had happened was, in the process of me hiking up that mountain, it got to the point where I kind of just had the tunnel vision, and I was just focusing on getting there. And so it's like a picture of my life sometimes, where I've committed too much, or all the things I've committed are landing at the same time, and it's becoming heavy and it's becoming hard. And so I'm just like, this is the way the trail goes. I've just got to keep going. And I'm sure you've felt the same thing. So I'm just trying to keep going. Now, what happened when we got up here on the rim, and we actually took some time up there, and I took some pictures, and we spent some time chatting. Oh, I see. I'm here. I have an idea. I'll move over here to this side. There we go. Now we won't block Micah's face there. Oh, got to transition that over there so you can see it too. Perfect. So, so what happens is with that, I wasn't asking for help. I wasn't thinking logically. I wasn't even, at that time, it was kind of too late. I had already committed to everything that was in my backpack, and I just had to keep going. And so I think of that sometimes with my life now, is that sometimes I've put too many things in my backpack, and I'm just walking. And I really need to stop and ask one of the other guys, can you take some of this? Because eventually, and I think it was up here on the Southwest Rim, I said, well, how heavy are your packs? Can we just compare? And it turned out that I, of course, had the heaviest pack. And so, because I was being stupid and ridiculous. And so we talked a little bit, and we found ways to equal out a little bit. So I gave a few things away. And then by that night, when we actually had our cooking time, here's me cooking with my little camp stove there. Once we had done our cooking, we also got rid of some water. We got rid of a few things. Oh, this picture is sideways, but it was such a beautiful picture of Micah standing on a rock down at the Southwest Rim. So here we are sitting on the Southwest Rim, all that view behind us. You can look down there, see Elena Canyon cut into the background behind us, back right over here, I believe. That's Santa Elena Canyon. So all of this picture and conversation just to say that there are times when we will overcommit ourselves, and when I went hiking was a prime time, hiking and camping, packing, prime time where I will overcommit, I will carry too much stuff, and I won't always think to ask for help. And then I'll hit that point in the trail where I'm just barely keep slogging. But it becomes a picture of my life, because I'll hit other seasons of my life where I'm doing so many things. So yeah, I'm troop chaplain. Yeah, I'm a pastor over here. Yeah, I'm a father of 4 amazing boys and 1 cute little girl. Yes, I am a technical director for a stage show that's coming up. Actually, make that 3. All within homeschool, etc. Okay, what else we got? And so I keep piling things on. Oh, I'm an editor. I'm a filmmaker. Oh, yes. All right. I'm a friend to a lot of people. Just all of this. Oh, now I'm a house painter too. Okay, I can do all of this. And then suddenly there comes the day when I just can't do all of it. And so what do you do? And so, what I've learned over the years is when you commit to something, sometimes there really is nothing for it except to just go through. You said you'd do it, you're going to do it. But you have to then remember that. Remember the pain. Remember the impossibility. And when you get to the next breathing spot where you finish what you said you're going to do, be very careful what you commit yourself to for the next season. And so there are times when I'm just slogging, going, oh God, please help me. I shouldn't have done all this. And God is kind of like, well, yeah, you could have asked me about that at the beginning. And I'm like, yes, I could have. And I should have asked for help from other people. Sometimes, though, yeah, I have to keep my word, but I can also say, guys, this load is very heavy, and I'm not as strong as I thought I was, and I need some help. And, it helped. When we got up to the Southwest Rim, and we were up there looking at the view, and I finally took my backpack off, and we finally were looking around and enjoying all of that. Actually, I think this last picture that I showed you was when we were up somewhere else entirely, not even on the Southwest Rim. We were down. Anyway, back to the story. I'm getting distracted. Will not be distracted. Okay. Sometimes we wait until we get to the vantage point. And we can look around. We have a moment to cool off. We have a moment to get a drink, catch our breath. And then we start thinking, why am I doing it this hard? So either it's going, guys, I cannot keep up the pace that you're hiking. I need to slow it down. I can still do this. I just can't do it that fast. And so that's something that I found even with some of my film projects where I'm like, I thought I could do it in this much time. I can't. I'm not going to get it done. All right. So is it okay if we stretch it out? All right. That gives me a little bit more breathing room. All right. That's good. But also, when you can look around and say, can someone carry a load for me? Can you help me with this? And here's what you need to know. There are seasons in your life where you are that person. You're on the trail and you are easily carrying everything that you're supposed to have. And someone next to you is not easily carrying everything. You're like, here, let me help you out. And you carry something for them. But there are other times when you're on the trail and someone says, I'm going to need some help. Can anyone carry something? And you are not the right person. You should not volunteer to take it because you're also being overwhelmed at that point. So we have to be very aware of what we're carrying and not try to take on things that are not ours. But then we also have to be very quick to take responsibility in between to review what we have and to say, okay, can I handle all of this? And sometimes it's, well, with the help of God, yes. With the help of these people, yes. And I have more stories about that, but I have fond memories of our camping trip out that way to Big Bend in March of 2005, I think that was. And so I am looking forward to doing a little bit more camping and hiking in the future, but I'm wanting to remember to not think that I have to carry everything, but to allow some of the younger guys to do some of the heavy lifting. So those are a lot of my thoughts today. Are you working on a project?
I'm putting away some paper.
Oh, he's
making paper hard drives.
Paper hard drives?
Yeah.
That just sounds like a notebook.
Not actually.
You just wait. You need to get closer so everyone can actually hear you and see you.
What I make paper hard drives, which are like, they range from like this big, and when you unfold them, they're like this big.
But how do you store anything in a paper hard drive?
So what they do is you actually get them pre-made.
Okay.
You're not really able to put anything in them. I'm the one who always makes them, but basically I just staple paper on and fold it up, and then you unfold it, and in there I have, whether it's pictures, notes, I have a lot of stuff. I've also done a little bit of video games.
Okay, all within a paper hard drive.
Yeah.
Of course, I think that's called a book or something. Not a hard
it's
drive.
a
I know you call it a
paper.
Okay.
Well, we use it in our games as a hard drive.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Okay. So you're putting stuff away from your earlier project. All right. Carry on. So, yes, today's a beautiful day. I'm about to go out to the shop to fix my bicycle so I can go on another ride. Because recently I went on a ride, experienced some of the same things where I'm not the fastest rider in the bunch necessarily, and I have to make sure I'm measuring what energy I'm using, but I'm looking forward to doing more bike rides. There's a lot of life in my life right now that I absolutely love, and I love all the pieces, but sometimes they're just extreme. Too many. Sometimes they're too big. Sometimes they're too many. But what I love about my life is the fact that we've taken a bunch of time in the breathing areas. Thinking and hiking. Back at the parking lot, we're looking at our backpack going, does it all fit? Why are we carrying this? Can we get rid of something? And so sometimes we have things that we really love and we get rid of it. So for instance, one of the things that I often carried in those days was an Audubon bird book. And those things are heavy, but I would take them with me because I wanted to be able to reference them while I was out there. But sometimes you have to say it's better to go out and see it, maybe get a picture of the bird, and then later identify it. Anyway, I've learned a lot about jettisoning some things, but I'm still choosing to want to be busy, to want to do a lot of stuff. And so I just want to make sure that I'm doing the things that I'm willing to suffer for, so that when I have to keep walking, when I have to practice endurance, I don't get angry at God or myself or my wife or someone else because of the things I'm doing. I want to know that I've thought about this and I chose this. And then I'm willing to put my back to it and suffer a bit if necessary. So those are a few thoughts I have on this beautiful August day. I'm going to go get my bike ready so I can go on another ride. Blessings. I will talk to all of y'all. I don't know about next week. Next week's going to be kind of busy. Got some camping going on. We'll see. Might be the week after that. See you then.